Okay, so you've seen the figures of Davison, and this is quite sobering stuff, which has probably changed your whole viewpoint of what's going on in this industry. And one of the jobs of the 7 Deadly Mistakes is to create a new platform of truth of how invention development and how this really works, how you're going to move forward. So I hope that this has changed or added to your understanding of this whole process and place. But if you think that this is a one-off, then unfortunately that's not the case. There's been severe litigation in this field. There's been companies shut down. There's been all kinds of things happening. You are in serious danger when it comes to invention development and promotion and entering your invention into some of these companies or entering to business with some of them. What we're going to look at now is a different company, and what I want to show you is a video from InventHelp which features George Foreman. Once we've gone through that, again, we'll go through the figures. I'll take you through them personally. You won't need a summary section for InventHelp because we're going to go through the figures much quicker for them. So let's quickly take a look at this video, freely available on YouTube, and we'll take a look at that now, of a promotional video from InventHelp featuring George Foreman.
Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Hi, I'm George Foreman. People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can provide patent referrals and submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee your company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
So that's a promotional video for InventHelp featuring George Foreman. What I want to do now very quickly is go through the figures of InventHelp. And this is only going to take a couple of minutes. It's much more simple and much quicker. So let's take a look at that on screen now because we've got some disclosure figures for InventHelp. So as you can see, these are the disclosure figures for InventHelp, similar to how you saw for Davison earlier. Again, these figures are shown by InventHelp themselves to inventors before the inventor enters into an agreement to use InventHelp. And as you can see, the inventor again needs to check the checkbox to confirm they've read and understood everything before proceeding. So these figures are from InventHelp themselves, and they show the period from 2008 to 2010. Before I start, I want to get a few things straight. Whilst we're about to see extreme low success rate figures, remember that SHIINE defines any success rate of less than 1 in 100 for an invention development or promotion service as an extreme low success rate. There are some things, first of all, that I want to give InventHelp credit for before we look at the less positive aspects. Firstly, InventHelp have implemented a comprehensive consumer disclosure policy to show and inform inventors of their success rates, and to make it clear they consider that inventors making purchases from their company are entering into a high-risk expenditure. They do make this very clear, and I believe they tell inventors several times before the inventor enters into an agreement with them. So that's thumbs up to InventHelp. At least they make it clear to you and all inventors that if you use their services, you have close to 0% chance of success, and we'll see that borne out in their statistics. So that's good that they warn inventors of this. Secondly, another good way about how InventHelp disclose is that the page and stats are set out very neatly and simply, making this page and these figures much easier for inventors to read and digest than Davison's. So that's good and increases the likelihood that inventors will actually read through this. However, as we'll see, there is a slight issue in that, unlike Davison's figures, we don't get a breakdown here of how many paid for each service, and that leaves us with a few question marks, which I'll explain as we go through this. Thirdly, InventHelp's success rate is not nearly as bad as Davison's. Davison's success rate is less than 1 in 1,000. InventHelp's success rate is still an extreme low success rate, but not nearly that bad. So whilst we're featuring these two companies, that is not intended to bracket together these two companies as if they are somehow the same. InventHelp success rates are not as bad as Davison's. Fourthly, InventHelp's marketing techniques and strategies are far more restrained and down to earth compared to Davison's. Whereas Davison's marketing is all about pumping up the excitement of the inventor, InventHelp's marketing is more calm and less exploitative of emotions. They simply say what they do, what you might need, and set themselves up as the solution. So I'd also say they are more responsible in terms of their marketing techniques than, for example, Davison. All that said, let's take a look at these figures. So between 2008 and 2010, InventHelp states that they signed submission agreements with 4,756 clients. So that's a lot of inventors in just the time period between 2008 and 2010. In all that time, only 30 of those went on to receive more money than they paid InventHelp for these services. 30 out of 4,756. That's a success rate of less than 1 in 150 of generating a profit for inventors more than they pay. In fact, it's just a little less than 1 in 158, a success rate of 0.63%. What it seems to suggest is that in this time period, if you used InventHelp to move forward with your invention with these services, you had a 157 out of 158 chance of failing to generate more money than you paid them. InventHelp also seemed to have had a run-in with the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America in 1994, where they apparently reached an out-of-court settlement with the FTC for $1.2 million. I can't 100% confirm that, but it is mentioned, as you can see, on various websites, including NBCnews.com, and the fact that InventHelp has not moved to have these websites taken down, or has not been able to, suggests that those reports are true. You may see InventHelp referred to on these web pages as Invention Submission Corporation, or ISC for short. That's their corporate name. They then trade under the name InventHelp. The Federal Trade Commission, amongst other things, protects consumers from unfair or deceptive business practices. They say they charged $780 in that time for a basic information package, and then $9,950 to $14,950 for their marketing, licensing, or promotion services. But we don't hear any more about what those services are, and we're left with a few questions. The first is whether all those 4,756 clients who signed what they call submission agreements were paying customers. I think we have to assume they were, because there are various websites showing figures of InventHelp that take the figures to mean this. And again, InventHelp does not seem to have taken these websites down, which suggests it is correct that all of the 4,756 were paying customers. You can Google InventHelp submission agreement or InventHelp success rates if you want to see InventHelp's figures on other websites. You'll see they're out there on quite a few. What's harder to understand from these figures is whether InventHelp consider the basic information package to be included as a submission agreement, or whether the term submission agreements does not include the basic information package and instead relates to the more expensive service or any services that are more expensive than the basic information package. Giving InventHelp the benefit of the doubt that the basic information package is considered to be a submission agreement, and using the conversion rates Davison had from their less expensive service to their more expensive service as a guide, we could estimate, as a humble estimate, that InventHelp are turning over around $10 to $15 million from inventors like yourself per year in these figures. However, if the term submission agreements does not include the basic information package, and instead relates to the more expensive package or to services much more expensive than the basic information package, then the story could be very different, and that number could potentially be 5 or even 10 times higher. In other words, InventHelp could actually be turning over more money than Davison per year. I cannot tell from these figures because there's not enough information, and they don't disclose in the detail that Davison's figures did, where we saw how many customers paid for each service. but I will be contacting InventHelp to try to find that out, and have in fact tried to do that already without success. If InventHelp are watching, I invite them to disclose to me what products and services are included within the scope of the term submission agreements, and whether the basic information package is considered to be within the scope of that term, so that we can have full clarity as to what's going on here in terms of amount paid by inventors and percentage success rates achieved with reference to different services and payments made by inventors. The moment I have that information, I'll include it and at the very least annotate this video. If you've used InventHelp or Davison or any other invention development and promotion company and want to contact SHIINE Enterprise for any reason, please do so via the email help@theinventorsjourney.com or via the contact page on theinventorsjourney.com. If you have samples of the work done by these companies, I'll be very interested in seeing that, and everything you disclose will be in full confidence. So as you can see, as an inventor, you find yourself in a very difficult situation here. We have an industry which is set up without doubt primarily to monetize you. It's not set up primarily to get you success with your invention, to study the art and work out how this all works. It's set up primarily to monetize you. And there's a lot of companies in this sector that are generating vast amounts of money from inventors like yourself and hardly getting any success for any inventors back. So we have a real problem in this industry.